Welcome to Crafty Hints. I'm Chantel, and I'm so excited to have you here today with 20 Easter and spring DIYs. I started out with this egg from the Dollar Tree. How cute is that? It's a little bunny egg, and I just used a little skewer piece or popsicle stick there to help hold it in place while I went over it with some plaster chalk paint. Then I just attached a fuzzy little ball for his tail and a little bit of a bigger one, and I pinched it together so that it would make it oblong for his feet. A little bit of low temp glue and just attach that. This is another good reason to grab those extra holiday packages at the end of the season because they can be used year-round. Next, I took this bucket and I put a plastic bag in there and some floral moss, and then I took these carrots from the Dollar Tree and I cut them in 3 pieces. Since they will be tucked down in the moss, I thought it would be a waste to take a whole carrot and just shove it in there. So if I take bits and glue it in place, that'll work. Now again, I'm taking some greenery from Christmas. This just came from a garland, and that'll make the ends of my carrots. So I'll just attach that to the top of each of them. I thought that those worked well for carrot tops. Doesn't it look cute? You could trim them down a little bit if you want. This is also a good craft to use those fingertip protectors. I found those also at the Dollar Tree. Now I'm just making a spot for those. You want a little bit of that orange peeking out so that you can tell that we have carrots in there. But I thought this is a good way to make those carrots go a little bit farther. I wasn't able to find a bunch of them, so I got that pack, and I just want to extend it so that I can make a couple different things from them. And I'll just continue to make my toppers here. If you're new to my channel, I just want to let you know that I do try to keep each DIY down to under 5 minutes. That way you get the gist of what I'm doing and you can do it too. I don't want to bore anyone, and I want to be able to let you get on to crafting. If that's something you enjoy, reach up and hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have you as part of my friends and family here. So here's my little bunny. How cute is he, just diving in to grab a couple carrots. So I'm just going to attach him over the edge. And you can pull those carrots up just a little bit more. Yes, grab your coffee, enjoy this. It's a bunch of Easter and spring DIYs. Oh, isn't that cute? I love this. Okay, let's get to the next one. I found these frames at the Dollar Tree and I just took it apart. And now I'm just giving it a good paint job here. Just using my plaster. I really like plaster. It isn't that stark white and it isn't the ivory. It's just a hint past the white. Now I'm using hazelnut to go over this frame. I did find that these frames are a little bit slick. You might want to just sand them just a little bit or add Mod Podge so that your paint grabs a little bit better. And then I just took some truffle and some antique wax to give it an old worn wood look. Now I'm just marking the center. And I cut this out on my Cricut. You could use whatever stickers you have. Definitely have some nice ones at the hobby store or some neat ones already cut out on Etsy for you. I thought this went beautifully for the season. He is risen. Thank God he did. All right, so I'm just putting that on here. And I'll pop it in the frame, and it's just as easy as that. You might want to just put a matte clear coat over that frame to help protect it. This ended up a gift for my sister. Now I've got this Easter basket. I got it at a thrift store, I believe, for like 50 cents. And I took this nautical rope. At the Dollar Tree, they have the nautical rope. If you look, the thicknesses are a little bit different and the lengths are just a little bit different. So decide what will fit you best. The first one, I'm just going to go around once and then I'm going to clip it. I wanted it just perfect little rings going around because I'm going to add a couple of elements here. And I just clipped it a little bit past it because if you've used this rope before, you know it's a lot of tiny little strings in there and they tend to want to come unraveled. So I'll usually add just a tad of glue at the end to hold them all together. And then I'll also, just glue them together. You just have to be careful that they don't start to unwind. Now I just went through with my next row. I didn't put them in the same place. I didn't want to draw attention to where they were connected. That would just, be that big eyesore of that one spot. So just kind of made it as though, it's supposed to be. Now I unwound some of the rope and figured out about what halfway would be. Or a third of the way would be, I guess, because there's, I think, 3 strands in there. So I just wound this around and adhered it. So it made it a nice thin cover. And I'll go back with my lighter and just get rid of a little bit of that fray and a tiny bit more glue. Now I use just the regular brown nautical rope. And continued that for several rows. Probably could have continued and just bumped this down a little bit, but I was trying to get it just perfectly around. Oh, I guess I did one and then went around and did do several rows going down of the white. Now I'm taking this burlap, and when you attach it, you want to just glue it and glue it kind of up so that you'll have a nice clean hem when you place it back down. So it's kind of like when you sew or glue 2 things together and you glue the right sides together and then flip it back around. So that gave it a nice finished edge on the inside. Now I use some of this Excelsior from the Dollar Tree. I like it. It has a grass, almost a seaweed feel, but it's a little bit darker. So I thought that would be prettier than some faux grass. And I just added a couple eggs in there. Isn't that adorable? Okay, I'm reusing this Valentine bag. And adding some wax paper in there, and I will just put that in there and make sure it's nice and flat. I'm going to write on it with a paint marker. You could definitely use a Sharpie as well, but putting the wax paper in there will prevent it from going through to the other side. I started with the middle of my word and then went out from there. That way it does center it just a little bit better. So I'm just making a bunny treat bag. I thought that would be kind of cute to go with my other Easter or spring decor. Now, if you wanted to use a Cricut, you could definitely do that. You could add stickers, but I chose to write it on this one. You could even do heat transfer vinyl. That would be cute too. I added just a paper towel in there, something that was wrapped from the Dollar Tree. I just waste not, want not. And so using what I have, adding a little bit of that Spanish moss And now a couple of these carrots. Since these carrots would be seen, of course you don't want to clip those down, so this gave me the opportunity to use them a couple times. Don't these come out nice? All right, I used some polish remover on this sign and it takes the paint right off of this metal. I love teachers. My sister and her husband are both teachers, but we didn't need this sign. So I went ahead with my Cricut and cut out the Easter blessings. I'm center challenged. I always judge it just a little bit off, so you will see me mark and just making sure that I get the center. I tend to just be off a little bit if I eye it. Now I wanted to make a bow, so I've got a loop with this burlap ribbon that I had grabbed at the Dollar Tree. And now I'll just glue that end. Now when I'm trying to find the center, I just push it and then I fold it right in half, and that will give you your center nicely. And I took another piece and just folded it over itself, and we'll just wrap it around the center. Just wondering, do you decorate with an Easter farmhouse theme? Do you like traditional? Drop that down in your comments below. I reply to every single comment that you all give me, so I would love to hear. It's always interesting just to hear, as you know, I'll be making more and what you'd like to see. Just used a little bit of that, it's kind of a lacy ribbon there, and went over the center. Now I had a little bit of greenery from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just snipping each branch in half. And if you haven't seen, that's just a little silicone spatula. It's in the makeup section at the Dollar Tree as well. You can also find them on Amazon. It works nicely to press down the hot glue instead of your fingers. I've also even used like the red Betty Crocker silicone spatulas or scrapers. Those work well also. Now another piece of ribbon that I'm just going to make tails for my bow. I'll just dovetail this by folding it over and snipping it at an angle. And I fold it in half, find that center, and pinch it together and add a dab of glue. I love simple yet decor items that anyone can do. They're just, I think that they have such a sweet thing about them. What do you think? Okay, this was a bin around Christmas for treats, and I took them and spray painted them in an ivory color. Now I'm going to go over this. At first I thought I was just going to dry brush it, but I was like, wait, what am I doing? I need to cover this fully in hazelnut chalk paint. And then I've got this candle pedestal from the Dollar Tree as well. So that treat, I just took the lid off of it. I like the scalloped edge. They usually have them for all different holidays. You might be able to find them right now for Valentine's Day, but I wanted it to have like a wood feel to it. Doesn't it kind of look like an old worn piece of wood that was cut out and it's just been around a while? I thought it was cute. I took that dry brush and just went over it. You can kind of see the marks. Oh, and this bunny that I thrifted. How cute is he? Just on his back having a ball. All right, I found this window from the Dollar Tree and I took off the center that had a little message there. Added just a little bit of spackle to fill that center. The spackle comes in handy in all different kinds of things with your crafts. Now, this didn't have to be perfect because I do want to come in and distress it a little bit. I probably could have left more of the gray peeking out. I painted the wood box or the wood crate from the Dollar Tree as well. And now I'm just going back over it with, I believe it was mineral. It was either mineral or silver lining. Whatever color will fit your decor, you go for it. But I was looking for a bit of a farmhouse worn look. Now this is some Gorilla Glue, and then I'll also use the glue gun. That way I have that instant hold and that stronger hold. I love that we can find things at the Dollar Tree that are $1 or $1.25 now, but put our own spin on them and make them look much higher end. If you were to find a little piece like this at Kirkland's or, any little home decor place, think how much that would run you. Okay, I've got some floral foam. And then I went in with this lavender. I believe that lavender is from Walmart. They were like 96-cent stems. And I just continued to add those in there until I was happy. You could add whatever flowers, will fit your home. But I thought that these were just a little burst of spring. Here in Minnesota, our spring comes a little bit later, so I do enjoy a burst of spring. And here's some of the round eucalyptus. I believe I found that at Walmart as well. I love how it fills it in. It's just such a pretty soft look. Okay, just continuing to add these in. Some of them I added just a little bit of glue and glued them on the edge, just making sure they hung over the edge nicely. And that about finishes it up. How pretty is that? There it is on my wall. So it would be pretty on the tabletop or on your wall. Gotta love spring. Okay, these are the little wooden blocks that you can find in the Crafter's Square area at the Dollar Tree. You do want to make sure when you're picking out which blocks you're using that they will sit together and that you have a nice smooth edge. Not all of them have a smooth edge. So go through and kind of pick your blocks together. So that did take another moment. I'm using the Waverly Pool color and just giving this one coat. I want to make sure that this dries completely before I add a technique to it. And I'm just adding a couple different colors there. And once they were fully dry, I went back and added some of these Dollar Tree letters. You get so many on those sheets in those packages. I think they're well worth it. But this is one of my favorite things to do with them. And this seems to be a favorite on my channel. I love these on my tier trays. And this just says Hello Spring, so I went back over them with this plaster, and then I just want them to dry. Now, you do want to make sure that that first coat had fully dried before you add that top coat or your sticker, or what can happen, I have found, is the adhesive from the stickers tends to stick just a little bit. I use this tool with my Cricut, but I also use it in other crafting. You might want to grab them up. They're a 2-pack, but they do help to lift these stickers. I think it says paper piecing on them, but yep, see that sticker stuck just a tiny bit there. And it just leaves behind the pretty first color that you had. Oh, aren't those going to be cute on my tier tray? Love those. And there they are. That was the first tier tray I ever made. Love that. It's fun to go back and recap some of the DIYs that you made the year before. This is a little frame that I found at the Dollar Tree. This is a tile, and I'm just going to flip it over. And I found that scrapbook paper at Hobby Lobby. And I just did this on my Cricut. I did find when I measured it, I think I didn't measure it quite right with how long my L is. So I did have to go back and trim that L just a little bit because it gets cut off with the frame. So I took it back off and just adjusted it. I measured the full tile and not how it would sit in the frame. So my error, but look, we just fix it. It's all right. It's crafting. It's not too serious. But aren't those greens beautiful in that paper? I thought this would be adorable in my tiered tray. And I'm not going to glue it. As I put it back in this frame, I'm not going to glue it in. That way, if I want to switch out and I'm not adhering it to that tile either, I'm going to set it there. This will snap in there. Now I have a frame that I can keep switching out that decor. I just love the size. So easy. You can do this too. All right, let's get to the next one. I found this again at the Dollar Tree, and those felt flowers were hanging on for dear life. I ended up painting the back side and covering the other side with craft paper, I believe. Now I just want to dry brush a little bit of hazelnut, or maybe it was mineral. I think that was mineral, and I did go in with hazelnut as well. Just want a little bit of dry brush and just dressing, especially on the edges. You can use your favorite colors for distressing, but those are two that I tend to use. These are rub-on transfers that I found at the Dollar Tree. So you just use a craft stick and rub those. You can see when they're attached because the color starts to fade just a little bit as it attaches and lets go of that transfer sheet. Pretty little wreath, and then I just cut out on my Cricut welcome. You could use other stickers or whatever you have. You could also write that out with a Sharpie or a paint pen. So simple and pretty. I have this on the back of my stove. I really love how soft and welcoming it is. Okay, I wanted a few more items for my tiered tray. So I took these craft sticks and I wanted these to look like fence posts. I know some people have found the fence posts at their Dollar Tree, little fence posts like craft sticks. I have not seen those. So I made my own. And then I just went over them with the plaster. Now I'm putting a tiny bit of glue on each edge and just gluing those side by side. You could also use wood glue and attach them before you paint them. If you're using wood glue, you usually want to do it before you do any painting because that's the bond that it chemically bonds it. It needs to be wood to wood for it to have the strong hold. And now I just have some craft sticks on the back, just like a fence would have. And I took 2 of the tumbling tower blocks and painted those while I was painting them. And now I'm just attaching it right on top. I put some glue across the front and the back. Now I put this in my bin and I'm grabbing some of that Excelsior, putting some glue across the front and just attaching it. And I'll just layer that on there until it's covered. You could also, paint those tumbling tower blocks a brown or a green if you wanted to. You could even maybe paint it gray like for a curb. Whatever you want, make it your own. But I put it on there and then, I've got to do a little trimming of the grass there, a little weeding, so to speak. So I'll pull off the extra and then just trim it up. And just making sure every edge is covered. And now just add some little flowers in there. I think we all have some little odds and ends of flowers. So I just have some little white ones, some little purple ones. These are just ones that I have off of, and I just trimming them off of little stems. Isn't that pretty though? Doesn't that just look like spring has sprung? There's some more rub-on transfers that I found at the Dollar Tree. I try to keep in mind that everyone may not have a Cricut, so here is a couple of ideas, that you can pick up and do it another way. This just says Grace. So I thought that was fitting. A little piece of the G didn't transfer, so I just went over it with a pen. And there it is on my tray. Okay, you might have gotten a sneak peek of this little guy. He's from the Dollar Tree. I'm just pulling that metal piece out of his head. You could use some spackle, or this is some wood putty. That's what I had handy at my fingertips, so I used that and it worked just fine. But I'm sure the spackle would work well as also. Just filled in that little bit of a gap that it created. And then sanded it just to make sure it was smooth. Now I'm going to use some of my Gorilla Glue and attach it to this little jam jar that I had. It's just a cute little jar that I think looks fun during the different holidays on my tiered tray. Give it a tiny bit of glue in between the Gorilla Glue. You could use E6000. I like the Gorilla Glue for its strong hold and doesn't quite smell as strong. And just hold them in place, and then I'm going back with this pool color that I've been using and just going to give it all a once over so it looks like they were all one piece. You could also use a little bit of spackle if you wanted to between that edge where the bunny is and your lid. Oh, isn't he adorable? Love that. So you could throw jelly beans in here. I just wanted to show you that, of course, with bigger jars, this is much more appropriate. But if you didn't have as much candy on hand, or you had a big, huge jar, you could use either you could use a paper towel tube. So it was just showing that as well. But I thought it was so sweet. They also have chicks and I think eggs. They might have some new ones this year. But I think it is a cute way to make that lid. I took some of these bunnies off of the signs. I thought they would be cute at the very top of my tiered tray. I'm also showing you here that you can get the tumbling tower blocks. For some reason, they come in 2 different sizes, but the blocks are the exact same size. So try and take a look at maybe a couple Dollar Trees for the pack that's about double the size. Now I'm using a little bit of truffle around the edges to just give it a little bit of an aged or rust effect. And just using a makeup sponge, that's really handy. I thought that they looked kind of like they're kissing there. I wanted a little girl bunny and a little boy bunny. The sign that I got had them facing the same way, so I had to make sure and get all of the glue off of the other one so I could flip it around. Usually they have 2 different signs with the bunnies facing opposite ways. And of course, I reused the signs in another DIY. Okay, so I just folded that lace over and then took some jute twine across and tied the center and snipped off those ends to just give that bunny a cute little bow. Now I have this ribbon that I thought would just look cute around their necks. Just like a little necklace, I don't know, little collar. I gave each of them one. Aren't they sweet? Next, I just snipped off a little flower or 2 to put on her collar. Oh, I think they're sweet. Now, I wanted to measure the center of the tumbling tower block, and I marked it with my X-Acto knife, and just be really careful there. Keep scoring it a few times, and what I'm trying to do is make a stand, and then you can kind of wedge out that wood, adding just a little bit of glue on each side to support it. And then I did it on the other one, and that about does it for them. How sweet are they? And I got that tiered tray at the end of one of Hobby Lobby's sales. I think it was at the end of their Christmas sale. And I ended up getting it for, I think it was 90% off. So, gosh, was it $1.90 or $3.90? Something like that. It was crazy. I felt like I had gotten a steal. Okay, so now I'm just taking some other craft sticks. I measured them out, clipped them down, and now I'm kind of doing like I did with the fence. And you may have seen this in a couple back, but I'm just gluing those together. But as you can see, these craft sticks aren't perfectly flat. They kind of bow just a little bit. But they did work for the sign I was trying to create. Yep, it's not feeling like the sturdiest thing here, and I'm starting to second guess myself as I go if this is really the way I want to do it. But I did get the glue to adhere and then just put some extra support on the back. I don't know if you've used coffee stirrers yet, but they are a great investment. I found a bag of like 1,000, gosh, way back when we were quarantining. I had gotten it off Amazon, and it has lasted me, I guess, a couple of years now. A year? 2 years? Gosh, we're losing time here. Okay, I had this leaf ribbon, I guess you'd call it. I found it kind of in the ribbon and floral section at Hobby Lobby. And I just fluffed that up. You have to remember with any greenery or anything like that, it's made to all kind of lay flat for packaging. So always just fluff it up. Whether it's flowers or leaves like this, just give it a little bit of a fluff and you will be much happier with it. Now, some of those leaves that I took off, I just, re-adhered them. Is this not the simplest wreath ever? All right, just a dab of glue there. But I thought this looked like some old barn board. Now I just added gather from those rub-on transfers that I had earlier. They go a long way. All right, another tumbling tower block on the back for some support. And there it is on my tier tray. Oh my goodness, we're about halfway through. Have you given me a thumbs up yet? If you're still with me and you're enjoying, I would really appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up. With you giving a thumbs up and adding a comment below, it lets YouTube know that there's people out there that like my content, and so that it'll suggest it to other people that may not have seen me before. It's a free way for you to help support me. Plus, it lets me know that you like the content I created. All right, I just pushed out the bottom of one of these crates so that I could create a tall one. This time I am using ivory and gave it a once over on both of them. Now I'm dry brushing a little bit of mineral. This is just a chunky little brush from the Dollar Tree. And now a little bit of hot glue on those edges will attach these. Just gives us a nice big base here. Kind of like a wooden vase is what I was thinking. Now I grab these peonies. Oh, they're so pretty. I love this blue turquoise-ish color. And I just put in some floral foam at the bottom. And here's where you are again. You're going to fluff. You're going to bend. Make sure that you give, those flowers just a little bit more life to them. They come so straight up and their leaves and petals are all squished. So just make sure you give everything a little bit of a fluff here and there. You'll be so much happier that you did. And now I'm just taking some of that ribbon that you saw earlier and figuring out where I'd like to place it. I decided across the top and I believe across the bottom. I thought I wanted to cover up that seam in the middle, but I decided just across the top, and I believe I did the bottom. Let's see here in a moment. I just went for the top, but there we are. Such a nice little accent piece. Goes well with my teacup. I found this wall vase at the Dollar Tree, and I also had these metal words left over from fall that had welcome. Now, this is such a bright tin that I wanted to dull it down a little bit. I have a makeup sponge here that I just used a clothespin to hold on to it, and just went over it a bit with that, I believe it was mineral, and then went back over it with a wet wipe, which it looks kind of smeary, but I wanted this to look like it has been out hanging on a fence for a while. I'm using a little bit of the antique wax and going around the edges to give it just a bit of a rust feel, as well as going back over that with a little bit of truffle. If you love the bright, shiny, keep it that way. Go with it. This is just another idea to give you, another idea of what to do with it if it wasn't fitting your decor the way it was. If you like a little bit more of the rustic, then this will fit back in for you. And as I'm doing that, I go back in with the wet wipe and just take off what I don't want. Now I just use a sponge again right over this welcome. Now I'll let that dry and just touch up those edges. I threw in some floral foam and glued that down. Now just move that rope out of the way and we can start arranging things. These are some flowers I found at the Dollar Tree. And the leaves were a little bit yellow for my taste, so I just took the purple flowers. So you can see I started to put in with the leaves. I'm like, that is just too yellow and such a bright plasticky green that it wasn't going to fit where I wanted it. So I clipped those all off and just put them in and staggered them as I'd like. And then clip them off so that they can hang over the edge and just glue them down a little bit. I added a little bit of faux eucalyptus, a little bit antiquing that I added to the welcome, and then I'll go back and wipe it back off too. I just didn't want it such a stark white, so give it a little bit of an aged feel. If you are not big on comments, but you want to let me know whether you go for more of a traditional home decor, just put a house. If you go for farmhouse, put a cow. Something like that. Or a chicken. Something to just let me know. So I know, I need to keep going on with farmhouse. Or you feeling like, gosh, farmhouse is done. I'm moving on. Myself, I'm doing a little bit of a mix. So trying to add a little bit of traditional in with maybe a little bit of farmhouse. So let me know, because your input is what helps drive my channel. I don't want to make just for myself. I'd like to make things that you enjoy seeing. Didn't that turn out pretty? Okay, I think you've probably seen these signs at the register at your local Dollar Tree. If you pop them open, they've got all these little balls, and I was really hoping, I had one idea for them and had to adjust. I was really hoping that paint would come off with just my polish remover again. It did not. I probably could have went with a razor blade, but decided to just go in another direction. I decided I'll add my bunny in instead, and that's fine because he wouldn't fit in with the glass this way. So I added a little bit of that putty and just sanded it down. I used my extra strength glue stick and now some craft paper from Hobby Lobby. And most of the time now, I'll just use sandpaper or a file to get that off the edges. I'm going back with that pool color that I've been using. It just is going to make my tier tray all cohesive and the colors kind of come together. I've got other colors that pop with it, but it just brings them all together. So pretty simple. Put this frame back together. Now I put a tumbling tower block there. I wanted him to just pop out just the tiniest bit. Isn't he cute? Oh, I think I could probably even just pop a fuzzy little tail on him. That would be cute also. And I think you can see what else I did. Yes, I gave him a friend. This little chick came from the Dollar Tree as well. I had 2 of these frames, so I'm just doing exactly like I did before, but we're gonna do it with the chick. So super simple, but I want to give you a couple of variations of this. I think this year they might have carrots also. So if you wanted to do a carrot with your bunny, that would be another idea. So sweet. Okay, this is another idea of what you can do with these blocks. And as you can see, again, I'm kind of flipping them, making sure I have the smoothest edge. Also making sure that they lay all flat together because you're going to have a few that just don't sit there well. And if you have them lined up on the tier tray and it looks wonky, you can tell. And you could also go in the opposite way. So if you wanted, you could paint these all white and then put the stickers on and paint the color over the top if you wanted to. But these were 2 different DIYs, but I'm sharing a group of 20 of them that I did last year. So I said hello spring before, and this one is going to have more of an Easter theme, and it'll kind of have that punch of the spring colors. I went in a color pattern of the blue and the yellow and then the pink, kind of coordinating those going across. Of course, I won't make you watch it all. You saw how I did this before. Just a reminder, you're waiting for that base coat to be fully dry, then you're adding your sticker, and then you went over the top with your top coat. After that's dry is when I kind of go through and paint all of the sides. Yes, if you haven't given me a thumbs up yet, please do. Here's our Easter blessings. Now, I think you got a sneak peek of this already, maybe a couple times. So I'm going in with my pool color. I had that color already on my brush. So while my other blocks were drying, I started painting this birdhouse. And I just went with the body in that pool color. And then I went with the yellow because I had the yellow on my brush from the others, and I went back over the roof. So as you can see, I'm trying to do other things while other things are drying. And since that is so bright, I'm just going to go back and age it just a little bit. Now, I probably did not need to add the hazelnut right here. I wasn't sure if you'd be able to see it with the moss that I tuck in there. And so I just went right inside there. And now I'm just giving this a whitewash effect, kind of like it's been out in the weather also. And the paint isn't quite so bright. It's been sun-kissed a bit. So I just went over the blue and the white. And here it is. What do you think? I cannot wait to read your comments below. Okay, I had this from fall and it has glitter. So I needed to get rid of that glitter so that we couldn't see it. So I sanded that off. Used my little ladybug vacuum. Gotta love that. My daughter's nickname has always been Ladybug, so I was partial to that. I found it on Amazon. I can link that below, but it does come in handy when you're crafting. Get rid of that glitter laying around. I found that paper from Hobby Lobby, 2 of the planks fit well on these. I'm using that extra strength Elmer's craft glue again. I still have this glue stick. I'm on a year or 2 for this one as well. It is so handy. And I just line that up with the center of the sign. I kind of want that center line. And I'll just put that on there and let it dry. So I covered all of them and I snipped off some that had, even more so. And then I went in with my sandpaper. And that gives you that nice clean edge. I have found that an acrylic nail file works even better than the sanding block for me. It just gets in all of those crevices just a little bit easier. I have these jewel stickers from the Dollar Tree, and I went over those with Waverly ink, and those are going to be my nail heads. Okay, if you haven't seen this trick, what I'm doing is I took these letters that I grabbed from Walmart. I needed them in between the poster size and the little Walmart or the little Dollar Tree size. So these seem to fit. Now what I'm trying to do is space out my stickers so that I don't have to do it on my piece, trying to figure out exactly how far apart I want them. I can do it on here where I can continue to move those. I'm not going to rip my paper. I'm not going to rip my stickers. You could do this on a ruler as well if you wanted to kind of mark it on there so that you knew you had it exactly, 1/4 of an inch apart or whatever. But this seems to work for me. And I just line that up on there. And now I just push down the tops of all the letters and I just rock the bottom out. And there they are. Quick trick. And I'll just continue on with the bunny as well. And now to make an arrow, I took some of the poster letters and used an exclamation point, and then I used part of a V to make a couple arrows going different ways on the sign. I thought it was kind of fun. And you can just continue on for like Easter egg hunt. You could do jelly bean trail, whatever you want, carrot patch. And I just continue to, add a couple different little sayings on here. And then I took off those nail head stickers that I made. And it'll just look like it was attached to the post this way. And it has that sticker like all the way in between them. So you just have to trim it off in between. Now I'm using these leaves off of these flowers to make a little bit of a vine going up. And then I'm going to use some of these little pit berries, I guess they are, off of a clearance swag I had gotten at Hobby Lobby. But you can get those on the roll at different holidays at Dollar Tree as well. So just place those leaves however you would like. And I just kind of rounded them where they were attached together. And then I took the berries and just wound them up like they're climbing the stake as well. And I just continued all the way up the sign. All right, I added some foam and a bag to this, and now I'm going to add my sign. Add some rocks from good old Mother Nature outside to help weigh that down, and added some Spanish moss on top. It's just that easy. You've got the leaves, you've got the little berries, and you know, that will just be a little fun Easter sign. Probably could have just even tucked it in my plant there. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope that you'll comment and you've subscribed. I appreciate each of you so very much. Have a blessed day.